All right, welcome to the show. We have Dave and Mel. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Mel will be joining us, but as for now, I'm just the Dave part of Mel and Dave. Hey, George, thanks for having us on, man. I appreciate it.
Yes. So, all right, for people who don't know who you are, Dave, give us a 30-second run of who you are and what you do.
Okay, absolutely. So Mel and I, full-time real estate investors. We currently own 200 and I think 20 something apartments or units, comprised of multifamily, residential, commercial, storage, that type of thing. We are Canadian. We're about 4 hours north of Toronto. We both were able to quit our full-time jobs in our 30s. I was a full-time firefighter. Mel worked at the local college. And now we are investors, mentors, and parents. So yeah, that's pretty much us in a quick nutshell. The most important thing is we do it with none of our own money and no joint venture partners. I love saying that. So yeah, all OPM.
Yeah, you got to tell us a secret, but they got to listen. So, all right. I like the fact that you was a firefighter. So what motivated you to, because firefighter, I'm already thinking, oh, he worked a lot of hours to get to this point. How did you, how are you feeling at being a firefighter, and what made you want to leave being a firefighter to do this?
Yeah, it was when I was in high school, my whole goal, right, was I'd read a real estate book, so it was kind of like in the back of my mind, and the fire thing, I just always it was a childhood dream, right, and finally achieved it. I worked for the government, did a bunch of things, and finally got on the fire department in Ottawa. So I was in Ottawa for about 10 months, did a bunch of stations there, and then I got on North Bay, which is where I wanted to come back home. I really loved it. It was a great job, great guys, great camaraderie. But then that real estate bug came back, and as I started buying income properties and I met Mel, the income property or the real estate bug just took over, and I realized, as much as firefighting was obviously challenging and different things, but there was a lot of times, weekends and nights, where I was away from my family, right? Whereas real estate, I could still make money and still sleep, in my bed beside Mel every single night. So that started to really take a toll on me. And I just saw how passive real estate could be. So I can make money while I sleep. And I started to weigh out my options. And you know what? I'll spend more time with Mel at home, making the same amount, if not more, as opposed to going and risking it out on the line. So so it kind of became a clear winner, a clear choice for me, George.
Yes, and the reason I asked that, because it seemed like a lot of firefighters or police officers, people who have the leverage to up and down their hours. So, like a police officer probably could work 67 hours. So I tell people, like, a 9 to 5 is not bad. If it allows you to work like that and you can keep buying houses, that's like the perfect opportunity. Because I think about me, I was a mailman and I was working 50, 60 hours a week because I knew I was taking all that money and I'm buy real estate.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So, all right, take us back to, where did you grow up at? How was your life growing up? Were you like middle class? How was your parents?
Yeah, my mom, like, again, in North Bay, Ontario, Canada. So my mom was a school teacher, eventually became a school principal. That was after I moved out. My dad worked for, which ministry? He worked for the government, basically. We'll leave it at that. I think it was Ministry of Education. I forget what it is, actually, training. Right. And they spent a lot of time playing hockey, doing the typical, traveling team hockey. Spent a lot of time. They spent a lot of money doing that for me and helping me with that. And my goals, I thought I was going to be go to the big times, and I didn't make the OHL and I didn't make the show, and realized, and now I'm happy that nothing happened with hockey, because, well, I'm not happy, but anyway, it was one of those where I thought maybe hockey would be the ticket, and it turned out to completely, I was hoping maybe a scholarship, which I'm not really a school guy, but humble beginning, and got the firefighting thing, and now I'm doing the real estate thing. So I don't regret doing any of those steps either. Like, I love the fact that I did fire because it made me who I am now, but definitely love real estate a lot more.
I was going to say, what do you think, evidently you was a firefighter. What are some of the things you learned being a firefighter that you still use in your own business today?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when I'm walking through buildings or we're doing fire inspections or things like that, just kind of, I've been there, done that. So just have an eye for it. Just kind of know different regulations. And I'm not saying I know it all, but just having walked through with fire prevention officers and that, and just even, and I'm not really like a handy trades type guy, but just having been through with different through buildings before and going through different, seeing the bowels of the building and seeing behind the scenes with the fire department. So just kind of getting a different scope or spec on building. So yeah, and just even again, getting to know people through that profession, and getting to know different, I guess, pros, like different professionals, I mean, in the area. So yeah, it helped. I definitely, again, it's
Yeah,
just it seems like a whole other life ago though now, but
okay. Because, like, most of my listeners maybe 25 to 40, 35, but, most people still work a job. So, like, that job, I think it's a part of the journey. So every job I think I still use it in today. Like, because at the post office, one of the things was you had to do a lot of volume of work, which is mail, but they also were so precise on time. So it'd be like, Dave, what time you think you'll be done today? I'm the type of person be like, man, maybe 3, 4, 5. I don't know, the traffic, but you don't know. But they were like, no, look at your stuff, and we need maybe like a 20-minute window, and it's an 8-hour, 9 to 10 hour day. I don't know, but I learned to be more maybe precise or accurate, when talking to people.
yeah, well, that's awesome.
Yes. Okay. So, like, in high school, before college, your group of friends, if they was to say, Dave is most likely to be blank, in how, like, before you became who you are today, did your friends and family see you being this person, or like what?
No, yeah, no, and good question, George. I like it. I don't think I've ever been asked that, but it was mostly, I just like to joke around, not take it too serious in school, have fun. I still remember teachers telling me, like, you think this is funny and a joke? What are you going to do with your life? Like, I wasn't like that terrible student that got kicked out of school, but I also didn't take it too seriously, because I figured out it'll all work out. But I still remember them saying, so probably I told them I was going to be a firefighter. I think they kind of said, because typically when people apply, there's like thousands of people that apply. And I remember them not believing that I would get that either. So I bet you they're surprised to see that, hey, he actually did become a firefighter like he said he would. And now he's doing real estate, considering that gym class was my best class at school, at high school.
Right. So your high school GPA was what, maybe, if you remember?
Oh, it was not bad, because I took, like, at the last year, I'm trying to think, I forget, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
definitely not an A student, honestly, George. It just wasn't a priority. It just wasn't me. I just didn't, memorizing stuff and remembering stuff just wasn't my forte. Being put
Nah,
in that box, I didn't like it.
nah. It's a common people, like, maybe just maybe the people I'm attracted to, or that's a common answer. Like, man, school is so general. I was interested in this or that. So school got you interested in 7 different things.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. All right. So, all right, you the firefighter, and now you got the real estate bud. All right, take us to this first, like, intro to real estate. What were your head at? What did you think you was gonna do, and what was your first actual move?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met Mel, I forget what year now. Let's not tell her that, but yeah, I forget exactly what year it was. I think it was 2012.
Right.
And got the job, professional firefighter, dream job, loving it. And then it's time to buy a house, right? You get a job, you buy a house, the typical, what everyone thinks you should do. So I buy a house, and then I'm absolutely broke. Like, literally, I canceled my first date with Mel because I couldn't afford our electricity bill, or my electricity bill. Like, I'm finally got my dream job, and I'm like, what's going on? So Mel helps me out. Eventually we decide to move in together, and she already had 2 rentals, a duplex and a triplex, and I had the house that I had bought. And so decide to move in together, and it's time to rent out my little house. And I'm paralyzed by the whole lease. Like, I'm so worried about the lease. And we put it up for rent, and honestly, the first guy that comes through, and it sounds like it's made up, but the first guy that comes through, he's about 60 something years old, and he says, I want to move in, and I'm not moving till I die, and I'm gonna take care of the place. He's like, I sold my house because I can't do it. And he's like, I'm gonna pay for snow removal. I'm gonna get I'm gonna renovate this. So, like, he's just perfect, right? And Mel goes, like, the guy leaves, and she's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, I'm out. I'm not doing this whole rental thing. And she had some experience, and she's like, Dave, this is the perfect, you're not going to get a better tenant than this guy. This is the perfect renter. He's not going anywhere. He's going to take care of the maintenance himself, which he didn't have to, but Anyway, she walked me through it because I was scared. I was a big chicken, to be honest with you. So she walked me through that, and once I realized that everything in real estate is just a step, right? If you don't know how to do a lease, just figure it out. It's not the end of the world. It's just one little roadblock, get through it, and then just get to the next roadblock. So long story short, we buy in the next like 2 or 3 years. I think we bought 5 properties, one a year, whatever that adds up to. Anyway, and then I won't say the name, but I was at one of the big 5 banks. They were the ones funding me, and they finally said, head office in Toronto says you've reached X amount of units or X amount of buildings, and we won't be funding you anymore. And I was like, what? Like, I had just gotten promotions at work, right? Because you start off probationary, then 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st class firefighter. So I think I was like 3rd or 2nd class by then, making good income, had the cash flow from these 5 properties. And I'm like, seriously? You're kicking me out? Like, you're forcing me to go somewhere else? Like, yeah, the head office in Toronto says no. Okay. So, and again, I won't say the bank, but it's one of the big 5. Right. And so that forced me to get into creative financing. And that's when Mel and we spent money, we researched, we talked to a lot of people. Like, we were fascinated with the people that failed. So George, we made sure to like really, like, we had, everyone knows of someone who bought a bunch of buildings and they hear that they failed or they didn't do something. So we searched out those people and we found out that they didn't have an exit strategy. Like, and that's that. We're so huge. Our whole thing is exit before you enter when you're using creative financing. So they had bought in all these buildings with expensive money, but then the market, didn't go where they wanted to. Interest rates ran up and then they tanked. So we just made sure to really understand what they did wrong and to not do that. And that's when we started buying with creative financing. And then 2017, we bought 12 properties in 12 months. It was like 56 units. Wow. And now last year we bought 119. And this isn't boasting. It's just saying that anyone can do it, right? And now we're buying Costa Rica and Mexico and in the States. So it's just like, it's just once you understand how things happen, like they can start clicking very, very quickly.
Yeah. And that's like that, your debt to income ratio. So a lot of people, you get like, nobody tells you that, like when you maybe you get 5-10 units and your debt to income, the bank starting to look at it different. Like, that's a step where you either going, all right, say I'm comfortable and just stay here, or it's like, all right, we got to figure this crap out.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between that little space between saying, hey, all right, we gonna figure, like you said, you went and figure out creative financing. What traits and characteristics does a person need in order to go from that, hey, we comfortable, to no, we got to figure this out?
Yeah, no, great. You made me think of 2 things, George, when you were talking. So I didn't understand back then the power of corporation structures and entities, right? And when I had those, let's say it was 6 properties in our own name, and the big 5 banks said no, because of that, because of our TDSR, GDSR, and TDI, all that, whatever you want to call it. And they're all owned personally, right? If I had owned them in a corporation, it might be different, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I had them personally. They said no. So now I went over to different credit unions, B lenders, different things like that. And they continued to allow me to purchase them personally. So at one point, like after we had 6, and then we bought 12 and 12. So we had 18 properties in our own name. Right. And they were more asset-based lending as opposed to just looking at our total debt service ratio, which was awesome. It allowed us to get up to 18 properties. However, I wasn't structured properly, and 18 properties in your own name. Then I had a hard time buying my own house, and I'm like, really? I have 18 properties? They're like, yeah, but when we go to buy your own house, now we have to look at all this, and your ratios are just out of whack, right? Like it just didn't make sense. So at that point, then we had to bring everything over to corporations, and it was a whole mess. Like, we actually have a video on it, George. It cost us like, I think about $483,000, like just insane. Because if you think of all the costs, the initial lawyers when you first bought it, and then the accountants, and then also when you brought it over to a corporation, the land transfer twice, the accounting twice, the legal twice, the financing had to change things. So it was just a mess.
So did you say you had a video about how to do it?
Yeah, we've got a video about, and I forget what it is, and I'm not trying to plug it. It was just, it's literally, it's just us being real. It costs.
No, yeah, I'm definitely gonna put it in the show notes, because that's a real thing. Everybody say, oh, real estate, buy real estate. Nobody tells you, well, when you got 10 mortgages in your name, you can't even buy yourself another house, you know?
And that's exactly what it is. And I still remember that. And I had all these properties, and because it was personally, I had guaranteed them with the insurance and all that to get those lower rates or the lower down payments. And then I couldn't even buy my own house. I had to put 20% down. And I was like, what is going on? They're like, well, yeah, your ratios are out of whack. We don't have CMHC to insure you because you use it on your rental property and your personal name. And I was like, but I didn't know any of this. So I shot myself in the foot. I had all these income properties, but I couldn't even buy the bigger house that I wanted, right? Because we have 3 kids, and we had lived in a very small house for a long time until we decided to upgrade. So it was just, but again, like you said, George, everyone thinks, oh, just go out and buy a building. Who cares how you structure it, how you do it? Yeah, you can get into it, but at some point, if you're not doing it correctly, you're going to have to fix that bee's nest, and you're also going to have some consequences. So those are some of the things that happen to us. Now I buy everything, and I'm not preaching here that you have to buy things in a corporation. I'm not a lawyer, not an accountant, but just, you have to know things. You have to have that knowledge base to structure yourself properly.
Right. So I mean, pretty much, if you somebody watching and listening to this, I suggest you find somebody like Dave, so we don't make the mistake. You know, because if nobody's coaching you, it's nothing wrong, because I learned by falling on my face, you know, and you get up and you're like, all right, not doing that again. But if you don't have to fall on your face, it saves so much time, you know, and money.
100%. Yeah, no, George, you know what? You stole the words out of my mouth. I couldn't say it any better than you. Why not? Like, Mel, sorry, I know you. I'm not trying to interrupt you here, but we just invested in another program. We spent over $300,000 now in our own development, and coaching, mentoring, real estate coaching, personal development, all that jazz. Anyway, I kind of said that twice there, but literally, I wish I spent more money sooner. Like that $483,000 that we messed up on and had to, if I could have spent whatever it is, X amount of dollars to save myself, I wish I could. I wish I could go back and kind of give Dave a wake up. But some people have to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
So you believe in going to networking events, hiring a business coach, hiring a health fitness coach. You believe in structuring your business with these people. You feel like they bring more value than just watching a YouTube video.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with like free podcasts, free videos, awesome. But I've just learned that you can pay for knowledge, you can pay for experience, which will end up in the end, you'll be paying to get your time back. And that's something now when I want to learn something, instead of dabbling, I just pay someone, I learn it, cool, next, right? Okay. And then I just save myself years and headaches. And I know not everyone's in that situation. It's just, and I used to be like, when I was a firefighter, I was the penny cruncher. Like I was the go to 3 or 4 different grocery stores, and I knew what was on sale at every one of them so that I could, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saving a buck. It was just, I would never have spent money on how to learn something that I figured I could do my own, which is a mistake I made. But now I'm the opposite, where I can pay someone to learn something quicker and save myself time and do it faster and better all day, every day.
And you know what I would call that? It's the middle class syndrome. I'm a middle class person. You know, I was raised regular home, went to school, but that's a middle class syndrome. Do it yourself. Why would you pay somebody to do something you can't do? And like when I first quit my job, I was like, you know what? I got a little mini lawn service. I'm getting a lawnmower, weed eater, blower. I'm gonna mow all these yards. I'm not paying the lawn service. I did it maybe for like a year. Lawnmower kept breaking, the strain coming out the weed eater. I'm like, and the guys are more for like 25, $30. And I'm out here trying to mow the lawn. Then I got somebody want me to show a house. And I'm like, man, this is not adding up. But to people that's in my small town, they mow, like, you got time, you don't have a job, mow your own yards. But that's like a middle class syndrome. Do not spend money if you can do it yourself.
Agreed. I 100% agree.
Yes. All right. So, all right, this is a little bit off business, but yeah. Say, all right, God came, whispered in your ear, Dave, I want you to do this for me while you're here. What do you think, like, the words are? Like, what is your purpose? Like, what are you doing?
You know what? I like that. And for people, 100% George. And I do feel like I've had that, I shouldn't say that experience completely, but And again, for those people who do know us and those who don't, in 2018, we almost died. Bad car crash. Was just outside of, or was in Vaughan, where Canada's Wonderland is, just outside of Toronto. Rolled on the highway. We were on our way to a real estate convention. We were in, we had a shuttle with a big Suburban, Chevy, Tahoe, GMC Suburban, whatever. A big
Right.
Suburban, everyone knows what those are. And we rolled, like someone hit us and we rolled, landed upside down. So almost died, right? Like, I don't even know how we walked away from it. Concussion, neck problems, Mel had most of it. But, and it's going to sound cheesy, but one of those life flashing before your eyes, it's true. Like, we had 18 properties at that point. And we were like scarcity mindset. Like, we didn't tell anyone anything. We weren't on social media. My parents, Mel's parents were like, you guys win the lottery? How are you buying all these places? Guys on my shift wouldn't tell them anything, even friends. And then we almost died, right? And then we're like, okay, whoa. And our kids have no idea how we buy buildings, right? So we wouldn't even be able to pass it on. So then we went like 180. Like, at the book, I don't know if you can see it. We wrote that book. Yeah, so that we wrote the book right after. Got that, it became an Amazon bestseller. Then we created the Action Family Mentoring Program. And like, that whole whispering, if you want to say God whispered in my ear, it was like, you understand a process, and you understand how it works and how to buy buildings with other people's money, creative financing, and again, without joint venture partners. And I'm not opposed to joint venture partners. I don't do them because I want to give my kids all my properties. I want to control everything. I don't want to share the decision making or anything like that. So I have this, and I'm not a rocket scientist. Again, I was a firefighter. I'm not a rocket scientist. So I have an easy way of showing people how to do it that's applicable and that can change their lives, and they can buy real estate. So that was that whole moment of, that's when we started shooting it from the rooftops and created stuff, and then created the mentoring program. So honestly, like,
You know, when you were talking, this in my mind, this is what I was picturing. If people didn't get in my mind, this is what I seen. Like, all right, you was a tree. You was a tree, right? You was a big old tree. You and your wife, y'all was a tree. And you had a tree full of fruit, oranges, apples, all this stuff hanging off. But you built a fence around it. Nobody gonna get none of this fruit, you know? And it's like, God, you know, he want us to produce fruit. That's the whole point. Produce fruit and help everybody be better in life. So now, like that, so that transparency, like, basically after this car crash, you took the fence down and you let us in your world. And now so many people are like encouraged and inspired by y'all, you know, just even what you're doing, just inspired, sound like.
And George, absolutely. And the whole thing was, okay, let's use your apple tree analogy, okay? I'm assuming it's an apple tree. Anyway, you said
Right.
fruit, but let's think of it as an
Yeah.
apple tree. I saw an apple tree when you
Yeah.
said it. But we used to be so scared that we had the fence around it and that we're not going to have enough apples to eat. But then we realized that we don't need 50 apples every day to eat, right? So, and then I'm just kind of going with your analogy, but once we took the fence down, it wasn't like all of a sudden there's no more deals, there's no more money, there's no more private funding and private lenders. It's been even the opposite. Is now, like, it's been even more fruitful by removing that scarcity barrier. It's been, I find, even more deals. There's more than enough money to go around. There's more than enough private lenders and institutions. So anyone that's in like that mind space of scarcity and don't help people or don't tell people, you're almost, it's not that you're limiting other people for opportunities. I almost find that you're limiting yourself. And that's been a huge one. So no, thank you for saying, I'm going to use that, the tree and the fence. If you're cool with that, George,
No.
that analogy, I like it.
Hey, that's what I see. Cause I watch a lot of YouTube, and, you know, honestly, because like my friends were Gary V. They don't even know me, but Gary V, Grant Cardone, Brandon Turner, Big Pockets. These, like, 'cause I was in the mail truck for like 9 hours a day. So my friends were all these people on this podcast. So, you know, they are branching, they giving this information for free. So it's like, I listened to one YouTuber the other day. He just started kind of like a small channel, but he was like, you know what? I'm not going to say too much because it's kind of weird because local people in the community are watching my channel now. So he kind of like, you know, covering up now because, like, oh crap, you know, people watching me. So it's kind of like, you know, you want to do good, but it's like, it's weird, you know?
And just to, it's funny, how do I say this? We've had mentees now who are part of the Action family who are in North Bay in our city. And I remember people saying, and they were kind of weirded out too. They're like, well, I'm in your city. Or do you find that weird? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. They're like, well, you're not worried. And it's like, again, no, whether you're in my backyard or you're across the country or in a different country, again, there's more than enough for everyone. The scarcity mindset is just not it's not the pocket you want to be in.
Yeah, sounds good. I like that. I'm gonna keep that in my pocket. All right. What is something like in your business? What is your main role? Like, because you and your wife, evidently you're a team and you don't have partners. What is your role in the business?
Like our individual roles.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so yeah, no, absolutely. And we divide and conquer. And I like that you said that because initially Mel and I would do everything together.
Right.
But then as we grew, we realized that there's only you need to divide and conquer because there's two of us, so we should be capitalizing on the fact that we could both be doing something separate. So, like my thing is, I love finding deals. Like that's even if we're not in acquisition mode, because sometimes you've got to take care of the places that you've got and kind of get things rehabbed, and sometimes you're in different stages, but just it's like an addiction for me. I've got to be looking at deals all the time, got to be just keep that keep what is it, finger or thumb on the pulse, just to know what's going on. So that's kind of my thing. And then talking with the private lenders and investors and kind of getting that. And then once the deals are found, that type of thing, that's when we kind of get together on that aspect. We start talking about how we're going to structure it for taxes and financing and things like that. And Mel's obviously our social media. She does all of that. And she's more of like, she does more of like managing the team and everything as well, right? Because we have different, we have like our property teams, and then we have like our investormeldave teams. So she's more hands-on with that, where I take a backseat to that type thing to her. So we divide and conquer. Otherwise, yeah, if I had to be the lead on the other stuff, I wouldn't be as excited, because then I wouldn't get to do what I love, which is finding the deals and negotiating and all that stuff.
Yeah, and as far as, I mean, your wife's not here right now, but what type of team are you structuring? Like, what kind of character and people are you looking to add your team, or like have on your team? What are you looking for in people?
Yeah, and the way we are is, I'm it's like it's so funny because like sometimes I just, and I'm not saying Mel doesn't have a million things in her mind either, but I'm more of like like in the morning I'm like, boop, boop, I'm a bullet point guy. Like I'm a boom, 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 boom.
Right.
And like I'm like, hey, today is this, and I'm like, hey, and then I'm off to the next thing, and then Mel comes in and like smooths it out. She's like, what Dave meant to say is today we're gonna be doing like, anyway. So she's kind of where the yin and the yang. I'm just more of like that. I just need to execute it and then off the checklist and off to the next thing. So she smooths me out there, and then sometimes where she'll be going through something and we talk about it, and I'll just be like, she's kind of thinking, I shouldn't say too much, but I'll just be like, just do this and this next. Like, so we like to find people that understand that. So our team is comprised of a lot of different people in different areas. We have a lot of virtual people as well, but they have to, like, the people that we love working with are the people that they're efficient, they're quick, and again, people that want to work somewhere where it makes a difference. And what I mean by that is, we've had a lot of team members come to us from other places, and they're like, well, how do I say this? They love the fact when they come here because we actually have results, and we put our what is it? Put your money where your mouth is.
Oh, put your money where your
Is
mouth
that the
is.
saying? I forget.
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding, and what we do, it works. We're not selling, snake oil skin or whatever that others. I'm terrible with sayings, and we're not just preaching something we don't practice. So they like it because we buy buildings with no money. We show people how to do it. They get success. It's all real. We're family oriented. We have 3 kids, so I just think people can relate, and we're not here to fluff anyone.
Now, it's 2 things I don't want to forget. I'd be forget stuff later. It'd be like, all right, the 2 things were, one is, oh man, don't lose myself. All right, oh man. So you said no, because I knew it, because I don't try to interrupt, but all right, you say you structure your team. Okay, I got it. So you structure you say you're like a bullet point guy. So I always tell people, like, write down things you need to do. So if you had, like, say next week coming up Monday, and you got maybe 10 things you need to do you do like the hardest things first or the easiest? How do you structure your to-do list? Like,
Yeah, I love that. So the structure to do list is I know what I have to do. And I'd like to pretend to say that I always do the hardest thing first, and because it sounds good. I almost, and I forget what Mel calls it. I think it's not Murphy's law. I think it's almost Parkinson law,
Right.
where and she said she learned it in business school, but basically she said if you give someone 2 weeks to do something, they'll take 2 weeks. If you give someone 2 days, they'll take 2 days. So I've always been huge on that. So I just, not that I do the hardest thing first. I'm just very real with myself. Like, Dave, this should be done today. So I add it on my list, and then I know I've got to do it today. And then if I know it's actually going to take more than a day or two, then I'll add it on my list for that day. So I'm really good at being, I don't necessarily do the hardest thing first, but I know when it has to be done, and I know realistically how much time I need to give myself. So
Right.
I'm big on that, and she harped on the Parkinson. I might be butchering that too. I don't know if it's the Parkinson law, but it's basically how much time you give yourself is how much time it takes.
Right.
So I'm really good at that, and that's really been a key. And the other thing as well is like our general manager and the rest of our team. Like, if I know that, excuse me, the lawyer is going to send me all these contracts, and pre-construction builders are going to send me all these contracts, like I know I'm going to go bonkers reading it. So I'll have the lawyers, I'll have the general manager, like they'll do that stuff that I really dislike doing. Like I just need to be doing something. So like to sit and read a 23-page contract is just like, it's painful to me, right? So I'll make sure that they read it first and get all the kinks out and all that. So I have a team that knows how I operate. Like the dot the i's, cross the t's is not my thing. So I
Right.
make sure that they do it all, and then I'll just review it in the end to make sure it's all good, it's all kosher. So that's been really important to me. And Mel's kind of that, she's more of the fine details. I'm more of the, let's be bull in a china shop, and then we'll kind of figure out the details later. So that's been a really key thing, is knowing my strengths and my weaknesses. And same thing with Mel, and how we built our team around us.
Yeah, and you know how you said, I remembered everything now. You know how you said you wanted to lead your people, they love because you guys are, you got proof that you're actually doing it. So people want to join your team. So in like that's a real leader. Like not today, you got social media, you got a lot of fake leaders. They
Yeah.
can perpetrate. And the thing was, they like, hey, come join my team because we doing this. I can gross this much money a month. I got this type of car. You want this type of lifestyle. So they're waving you to come to them, when a real leader is really don't really want to lead nobody, but people trying to follow them. That's what I think people need to realize. If somebody is doing something and they got proof, that's who you need to follow. Don't follow the people who are begging for followers. That's backwards to me.
No, I agree with you. And we've had like when I say I own 220 apartments, I mean it. Like, and if ever I was to sell a 50-plex, I wouldn't lie to you and keep saying I own 200. I would say I own, what is it, 170, whatever the math ends up. Like, we've always been so true to, I've never wanted to lie on social media, because I almost, and I like that you said that, George, I'm almost hypersensitive to that fact. Like, I've never wanted to be the faker. And I've met people at these different events in that, where I've seen what they say on stage, and I've talked to them after, and I'm like, that's not true.
But no, you gotta not call them out. Not call them out. Don't say that, George. Don't say that. But no, man, because that's like, I'll be sitting back too, and I'll see something like that, and I'm like, they boasting, but I really know your real life. Come on,
Yeah.
man. So it's like, and then they telling people this, and people, they it's kind of like, Apple or a big company. You really never know the owner, because they are not really promoting themselves. They're actually putting out a good value to the world, so people are attracted to that.
Mhm. Oh, I agree.
Yes. All right. So these networking events, do you attend networking events? And what do you think? Like, because that's what I'm trying to get into. I'm kind of like, I would say, I ain't gonna say small minded, but I live in a small town. It's not, California, New York, it's big. So what do you think is the benefit of attending like networking events, big events, Grant Cardone event, when the Dallas Mavericks owner, maybe he had an event. What's your purpose in going to it?
Yeah, I just, again, it's meeting like-minded people, and obviously the virtual stuff is good too. But when you're talking and having a meal, or having a face-to-face conversation, it's just, you're able to connect so much deeper, I find. And what I like about those is I find a lot of people go there obviously to find lenders and find money in that, but I like go, and I'm the same way. Is I like to go and network. I like to find people who are excelling in a certain area, a business area, and also geographical area, and just kind of learn from them, right? Like I've met different people at these events, like the book that we wrote. I met this person at the event, and they just happened to be writing books, and it just so happened to be after a car crash. And they're like, and we had told them, and they're like, I'm going to help you change people's lives. We're going to write a book. And I was like, let's do it. So again, this was actually happening at a networking event, right? So I didn't go in there thinking I'm going to write a book, but because I met that person, we connected, our energies were the same, and we were on the same vibe. That it's just, you don't know what people have to offer, and people have things that you want. So when you go to these events and you meet them, if you have an open mind, you're going to walk out of there with different perspectives and different people in your Rolodex. So I think it's invaluable to network and do those types of things.
Yeah. And that was kind of like my, because you got a podcast, you have to ask a question for yourself. So like this weekend is Miami real estate weekend, big thing.
Nice.
The guy from Shark Tank, O'Leary, Mr.
Oh
Wonderful.
yeah, Kevin, Mr. Wonderful.
Yes, he's the lead speaker. And I never go to stuff like this. I'm telling you, I never do. But I think I'm gonna do it. After this, I'm gonna buy the ticket. Me and my wife and the kid, we're gonna go to the event. Because nice. Like you said, like you didn't, I don't know what I'm going there for. Maybe I can learn something. Maybe I'll meet somebody, but I feel like I'm supposed to be around that energy,
Absolutely. No, I've never regretted going to a conference or a get together. I've never once left going, because whether I know it or not, I picked something up from it, or I met someone, or you extended an olive branch somewhere. So I hope you have fun at the event, George. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Once I buy the ticket, I guess I have to go. So, getting down to the end, what's the difference between going from that, $100,000 a year to $1 million a year business? Because evidently your business, in order to bring in $1 million revenue and $100,000 revenue, is I don't know, I never brought $1 million in, but I'm pretty sure it's totally different business structure. So what are some things that can help $100,000 business go to that next tier?
Yeah, and I'm thinking back, the thing that really I guess propelled us or launched us was, and people don't like doing this, but it's going to be, it's the things you don't like, right? So delegating and relinquishing that I shouldn't say power, but that control, and that, so when you relinquish that and you're able to delegate and have other people help you, again, you just create so much more time. So there's that. And then also, and again, I know this is something people don't want to hear, but spending money on marketing, spending money in social media, spending money to get better systems, get better teams, get better logistics. Like if you want to level up, well, and what does Einstein say? The same mindset that got you here is not the same, or the same mindset that created the problem is not the same mindset that can solve it, or something.
The problem.
Yeah, something like that. And it's so true. And it's so cliche, what got you here won't get you there, but it's true. So whatever got you to 6 figures, okay, awesome. That's amazing. You're in a higher percentage than a lot of people, that or a lower percentage of a lot of people income wise. But if you truly want to get to that 7, you're going to have to spend some money on systems. You're going to have to spend some money on a team. You're going to have to advertise on social media and get yourself out there. And you're also probably going to have to get a coach, right? Because if you know how to get there, but you don't know how to get there, well, why not just invest in someone that does know how to get there and get there faster and quicker and without roadblocks? So it's going to be investing in yourself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I hope people watching this, if one thing you do take away from this is don't be scared to spend money on yourself. That's what it sounds like for me. That's one investment you won't lose.
I agree, George. And it's funny because we just had this conversation the other day with inflation. Like in Canada, it's 4.4, 4.7. In the States, it's 6.2. So if you have that money right now, it's literally disappearing to inflation. So why don't you put it into real estate, put it into your own knowledge, and that's never going away. Like that's with you for the rest of your life.
Dang, that's big gems if people don't understand. All right, I'm trying to think. Anything you wish you knew earlier when you first started real estate, 18 or less units, that like what's something you not spend money on? What's something you need in your life every day that makes your life easier? I can say, like something you like, assistant, a house cleaner. What's something that you must have this in Dave's life? Like this is must.
That I need to have?
Yeah, like you are like some people say they gotta have a cleaning lady or they gotta have certain things. Like what's something like, hey, I need this, you know? That's a different
Yeah.
person.
No, it's a couple of things. Like looking back, I wish I would have gotten a virtual assistant earlier. Like now I think we have like 4 or 5 VAs that help our team. But it's just, again, it's just taking you just don't want to have to, and I'm not saying you're too good to think about it, but it's just sometimes like to those monotonous little tasks that you could assign over. Like when I'm concentrating and looking at markets and looking at deals and seeing how I'm going to finance them, but then I've got to figure out how to do little, like, it's like, well, I'm in hundreds of thousands of dollars of problems right now, and then if I have something and it's like, oh, I wish I could have just paid someone to take care of that. So and again, before I was, and I'm not saying just go blow your money on all these things, guys, but just, and this is a typical, if it's a $10 an hour job and you can make $100, why would you do the $10 an hour job? I used to disagree. I used to do the same thing. I used to do all my own snow removal and plow and cut and do all the grass at our rentals. And then eventually I'm like, I could just buy a couple of rentals that'll pay for this for the year. So it's just, it's, yeah, the virtual assistants and the ones that can free up my time, and different people on our team that free up the time to do the higher leverage, the higher, pulling the lever at the top type thing.
Right.
Just don't be afraid to do that.
Is there anybody in your family that you wish you had the chance to meet or talk to that you feel like they had a lot of knowledge, like maybe like a grandfather, a great grandfather, that you
Hmm.
never really got to sit down and, or they like, Dave, you remind me of your Uncle Bob or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's on my mom's side. Her dad, he died just before, I think like 6 months before I was born, and they said that we were fairly alike, right? Just had the entrepreneurial mindset. They said he was kind of like he was a bigger, burly guy that just liked to have fun and just more like business and all that. So I wish I could have met him just to see what he thought or what he had kind of learned, because he was like in the lumber industry. So I'm sure he learned some hard lessons there out in the forest doing stuff. He probably would have been, harder on me work ethic, but work ethic wise. So yeah, it would have been cool if I could have met him, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, when you told me that, I feel like you didn't meet him, but probably some of him is in you. Like my granddad, I think he died like 3 or 4 days before I was born. My
Oh
dad's
wow.
dad. Yeah, same. I'm the third. He was the first. So I feel like, the universe worked like, all right, we taking this person, but because I sometimes I feel like I was here before. I don't know if that's weird. Like maybe some people say you wisdom or wise or something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Recently I listened to a different audio book about like reincarnation, and I got and like I believe in it. Like I love like the universe and law of attraction, all that stuff, and like I'm big in that with positive thinking, and you can make things happen. Obviously with action, but like with your mind as well, it just helps things. And I remember reading that book, and it kind of got the wheels spinning in my head, and like, so I haven't really thought about it more, but when I listened to it, it got the wheels, turning in my head on that.
Yes. All right. So these like the last 5 questions. First
Yeah.
thing that come to your mind. All right.
Okay.
If you could spend a day with anybody, on this planet that's alive and like just hang out, pick their brain, who would it be?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Yes, that's a good one. He's hyper energetic, and that was one of my friends too. See, all these people don't even know me, but Tony Robbins, I can almost tell you his speech. He got a couple of them on YouTube, and I can almost verbatim just say it. He
Yeah.
got a good Netflix one too. You seen that one
Oh, I think I did.
where he was in the audience and he had people crying and stuff and all this?
Yeah, I saw the one about the girl that was in a cult and the guy that wanted to kill himself. It was super
Yeah,
powerful. Yeah, Mel and I watched that one. Yeah, Tony Robbins all day long.
yeah. I used to have everybody come to my house watching that thing. But all right, what's something you do better than most people? Like your whole life, you always been better at most people at doing this.
Eh, Solving problems. I'm still not perfect at it. I'm still not the best in the world, obviously, but in my circle, I solve problems.
Yeah. And that's a true leader because I got a book. I'll tell you the name of it if I can find it, but it's a leadership book. And it was like, a leader is defined by people always, you're a leader if people always bring you problems. When they stop bringing you problems, that's when they don't look at you as a leader no more. Because oh my God, I feel like people always bring me that real estate problem. It's like a strain and they look like this. And I'm like, George. And I'm like, man, they're trying to untangle it but I'm solving a problem, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's something that makes you nervous? Like you like, oh crap, I got to do this today.
What makes me nervous is that I lose, that I get bored of it. Like I'm always scared of, because I love it so much. I'm always like, well, what if 10 years from now I won't love it? Like I just, because then it's like, well, what am I going to be so attracted to? And like my whole vibe and my whole thing is I love buying buildings. I love being a mentor and investor. And I just get scared that I lose that, because then it's like it's the passion. I get scared that I lose the passion for something, which I don't think will ever happen. But it's like, oh, I love this so much that I don't want it to go away.
Well, say you was making $1 million a month in positive cash flow, would you still love it as much? Would you still want to go out here and look for deals, or like?
Yeah, yeah, that's a yes.
Oh, you wouldn't go if you was making that much cash flow. You would just go live on the beach and chill, or you would still be out here trying to do stuff.
No, still be doing, like I would just go crazy. I would be so bored. Like even when we go on vacation, we're still kind of plugged, and it's because we love it, right? The kids will be in the pool, and we're still kind of doing a little bit of things. Like that's the thing. We're always working, but we're never working, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I think my mom said that to me. You're always working, and I don't even consider it work. All right.
No, that's
If
the thing. Yeah.
if you had your best friend and you could give him one book to help him become a millionaire, you couldn't help him, but you could recommend, hey, read this one book, and you need this person to become a millionaire. What book would you refer to?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's just, it won't show you how to be a millionaire, but it'll just explain how you should approach money, how you should approach debt, and your mindset towards life.
yeah.
That's the one we read in 2016 before we bought 12 and 12 in 2017. He didn't teach us how to do it, but he just unlocked the whole debt leverage, good, bad. And I was like, I need debt. I need to find debt and get indebted as much as I can.
Right. All right. So the old American dream would be you would be Dave the firefighter. You'd be like, George, I got like 7 more years left and I'll retire. That would be the old American dream. You would have been still there, picking up snacks from Walgreens at night, you
Yeah.
know. But all right, what is your version of the new American dream? Especially I know you for your children. Like, how do you want the new way to be?
I think it should be like, for my kids, I know they're not going to be in one job until they're 65, but I almost want them. And it's funny because I'm having this conversation with our 16-year-old right now. Like I want her to go work at Starbucks. I want her to go work at McDonald's. I want her to get that experience. I want her to have customer service. I want people to say, this is the wrong order. You screwed up my coffee. Like I want her to have those interactions with people just to get her ready for life. So if I could mold out the perfect dream for my kids, or how I would see it, is go get a job, learn things. You're going to get fired. You're going to not put your alarm on. You're going to be a college kid. Maybe go to school, get a couple of years. If you want to be a doctor, then go to school for 7 years or 10, whatever it takes. But just, I don't want them to go to school for school. I want them to go to school for experience. Like maybe go take a business, whatever it is, go take a course so that you get it out of your system. I don't want you having when you're 40 and midlife crisis because you didn't go party in college a little bit, and then go work a job, start saving, maybe start doing some real estate on the side, or start doing, if it's not real estate, your side hustle, and eventually grow it where it becomes your main thing. And then kind of do your passion in your 30s, and have a business that you've grown, and you can live off of the rest of your life. I don't know, something like that ish.
Yeah, and like, cause I'm 32 years old, so one of the things I'm realizing with a lot of my friends and people my age, nobody really want a regular job, and a lot of people who are successful don't work a regular job. They got it's weird now. So, but in order to buy a home, still you need a W-2 job. So I think it's up to like the older people. The older people the old generation is going away. Everybody's not going to have a job.
Mhm.
So I feel like the banks and stuff have to figure out some system, not to go back to have a 2008 crash, but they have to figure out some way to be able to calculate people's income. Maybe they're a YouTuber or something. They don't have a W-2 job or something, but you got to figure out a way to make the wheels keep rolling instead of just saying, hey, you need a job to do this. It's 2021.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
All right. So Mel wasn't here, so we're gonna have to have a part two. And all right, because I feel like she was gonna come in and tell us the real estate. She had the two duplex and triplex before
Yeah.
you, so she was supposed to give us the real estate. So um
Yeah.
but for people, if they want to reach out, find you, what's the best way to contact you or just get in touch with your information?
Yeah, absolutely, George. And we'd love to have a part two. I'm sure the second we stop, she'll walk in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'll be Murphy's Law. But yeah, if people want to find this, everything is at investormeldave. So YouTube, what is it? What else? Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all that jazz. Yeah, it's all at investormeldave. That's always the same handle, and you get a different side of us on every different platform.
And your book, is it like inspirational or is it real estate?
It's real estate. It's more of like it's 88 pages, like it's short. We had a 300-page book, and then we chopped it down to 88. It's just to be like, I want you to read it in one sitting. It's just to give you a kick in the, you know what, just, it's no excuses. And if I could do it, you could do it. So it's just a motivational real estate, quick and dirty, giving you some tips, but basically telling you, why aren't you doing this yet?
Perfect. I will put the link to the show notes to the book
Nice.
so people can check it out. I'm gonna even check it out myself. So thanks for
Awesome.
coming on, man. Yeah, definitely have to get a part 2 because I know people want to be like, because I sometimes to be successful in a business, you don't need to know about the business. You need to know about the person and the quality, the small things that get you to the business.
Mhm.
So I feel like if we have a part 2, we can dive into this. How are you buying these properties, with no partners and really no money down? And that'll be like, because I think you need the core before you even get to there.
Absolutely. I'd love to, George. I'm in.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay. Take care. Bye for now.